Okay, look. Technically, I guess this is a 205 Live review. But considering most of the people on here aren't cruiserweights, and we're just talking about the Dusty Classic, it might as well be an NXT review. Run that intro. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. Here with something a little bit different. Here with a NXT on 205 Live review, because they're doing Dusty Rhodes content on 205 Live. And it's basically a 40-minute episode, because two of the Dusty Classic matches happened on here. No, I'm not turning this into a 205 Live review. Yes, I'm putting it out there as kind of like an add-on podcast while we get through the Dusty Classic. But I'm not just going to ignore it. I said it in the first week. I thought it was really weird that they had Killian Dane, Drake Maverick, and who else went over? Oh, Legado del Fantasma going over on 205 Live for the Dusty Classic, which is pretty much a NXT thing. But at the same time, I remember that NXT saved the Cruiserweight Championship. And the Cruiserweight Championship is what 205 Live used to revolve around. So I guess they are sort of like sister brands, sort of like NXT UK is a sister brand as well. So I figure, might as well come up and say something. Might as well not just make it a big blocky extra inserted bit into next week's NXT review, because by the time I'm done talking about this, by the time we get to next Wednesday, what I'm talking about right now won't be any good. You'll want to know what's happening that night, and the matches that happen that night, and the stories that happen that night. You don't want to tune in on a Thursday and hear what happened last Friday. That's a 6-day gap. That's no good at all. So bottom line, we got two matches we're going to talk about tonight, and they're particularly intriguing for a couple of reasons. We've got The Way versus the debuting Gigi Dolan and Cora Jade, and we've got Tony Nese and Aria Daivari taking on not Desmond Troy and the other guy, taking on the team that was announced on social media of Ciampa and Thatcher. So people are gonna die. It's Ashanti Adonis and Des Troy, isn't it? That got taken out by Karrion Kross on NXT. We talked about it on the NXT review. There's a gap. And then they put a thing out on social media, and it was basically the two guys that just killed themselves in the fight pit being like, hey, there's an opening in the Dusty Cup. That's all it needed. That's all. It's great. They are, in fact, doing the Cesaro Sheamus thing. And you know what? I'm okay with it. First of all, though, we started off with The Way, obviously Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, taking on the debuting Gigi Dolan and Cora Jade. Gigi Dolan, known to most people out there as Priscilla Kelly, and Cora Jade, formerly known as somebody that I don't know because I don't have my notes from that video anymore. I will say, the first thing that killed me about this, obviously, I've spent enough time on here already talking to you guys about how much I like The Way. I think the fact that The Way was eliminated this past Wednesday on NXT, it bummed me out because I'm behind them as a team. I came around to it eventually. You're going to hear myself and Jake talk more about it on a video that's coming up this Tuesday. But it bummed me out, but now I'm okay with it because now we're going to get Kushida versus Gargano at the TakeOver. That's going to be pretty good. We're going to get Mercedes Martinez versus Io Shirai for a very, very similar reason at the TakeOver. So I like that while people that I like are being eliminated, they are spurring off into other stories off of the Dusty Classic. That's sort of what it's there to do. Anyways, so you got Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell versus Gigi Dolan, Cora Jade. Jade and Dolan's music is a direct ripoff of Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams. Listen to the first couple of chords of that and just tell me that you don't hear the Manson. I'm not even a big Manson guy, but you know, his version of Sweet Dreams is a bit of fun, a bit of nostalgia back in the day, back, you know, when I had hair and such. It's such a direct, it's as bad as DDP's old music ripped off Smells Like Teen Spirit. Now, if you're old enough to remember that reference, good for you. If you're not, Google it. Indy and Jade start off the match as a faceplant by Indy. There's body shots by Jade, a pump kick by Dolan, boot in the face, forearms by Dolan. Dolan really does, and I think I said this during the Mae Young Classic a couple years ago as well, Dolan really does have a Next Generation Paige vibe to her, doesn't she? Now, I know she's done some questionable things on the indies that, you know, good for her. She got the attention she wanted. But she's just really good, and she's got a vibe about her that I really like. You know, you guys know I like the weird ones. It's fine. You know, doing the whole CM Punk thing, I dig Crazy Chicks. It's fine. Running high knee in the corner by Jade, back elbow by LeRae, mounted punches to the head by LeRae as well. Cravat by Indy, body shots and a side slam by Jade. Snapmare by LeRae, body shots by Jade again. Series of strikes by Dolin, a running pump kick, a boot by Indy, a stalling suplex, and a weird twisting side slam thing by Indy Hartwell get the win for her and her mentor going forward. Now, I do think this is really cool. A, because they go on in the cup to take on either Shafir and Stark, who's also making her debut, or Moon and Shotzi, which is more likely going to be the thing, isn't it? Continue the whole Candice LeRae, Shotzi Blackheart thing. But also, I think it's really cool that Indy Hartwell got the win, so she gets to impress her mentor. We do get to play with the dynamic in the way again. You guys will know towards the end of last year we speculated when Gargano and LeRae were both going for titles at the same time, what would the dynamic be if one of them got it and one of them didn't? This could be another thing like that, because one half of the way did not proceed, the other half of the way did. Now I would love Johnny Gargano to make another argument that, yeah, you went forward, but you went forward in a round that only had 3 rounds. Ours had 16 teams in it. I would have had to go 4 rounds, and it's not the same. And that's a weird gimmick that Gargano could do. Now, as I say, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon are one of my favorites to win the whole goddamn thing. Go follow them on... Ever since the announcement was made that they were going to be a team in this tournament, go follow them on social. It's a lot of fun. Either The Way or Moon and Shotzi or Catanzaro and Carter have to win this. I said in a couple different videos, I think, that the winners of the men's tournament and the winners of the women's tournament should face off against each other. But if you go back and watch the NXT or the SmackDown review that I just did, that's going out probably the same day that this goes out, you'll know immediately why I immediately pull back that statement, because WWE basically uses intergender wrestling to make fun of dudes, and it's not fun, let's just say. What is fun, though, is the monster team of Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher, coming off of the Fight Pit just 3 days ago, which would have been like the same day, I think, when this was taped, because you could still see the Fight Pit in the background. Taking on Nice and Daivari, who are being played up on commentary as the 205 Live originals, and it's like, okay, they are the 205 Live originals, but also, wasn't Ciampa also introduced in the Cruiserweight Classic? Think about that. Think about all that Gargano and Ciampa have done in NXT, and think back to the fact that they were introduced to us mostly by the Cruiserweight Classic, and everybody else from the Cruiserweight Classic basically ended up swept over onto 205 Live. Cedric Alexander is an obvious exception. There's a couple other obvious exceptions. But for the most part, they came out of 205 Live. And yeah. Ciampa, as we know him now, imagine him in the Cruiserweight. Imagine Ciampa going up against Santos Escobar or Jordan Devlin for their respective Cruiserweight championships. Does that idea not blow your mind just a little bit? Anyways, you figure this would be a squash, but it was actually kind of fun. It was actually, the story that they were telling here was kind of a competition between the two new partners. I'm having some fun hurting these guys. Do you want to have some fun hurting these guys? Tag out. Hey, you have a turn hurting these guys. Anyways, Thatcher and Daivari start the match. There's a nerve hold by Thatcher to start the match, followed by a headlock, a grounded upward headlock, an armbar, a key lock, and a bow and arrow, a dragon sleeper, and then he works the arm, and then he transitions it into an ankle lock, and then, as I say, drags him to the corner, drags him over to Tommaso Ciampa, basically says, hey, you want some? Cross arm breaker by Ciampa, a headlock takeover into a front face lock. Shots by both men on Ciampa as they try to get the advantage. They do get a brief couple of shots in. There's a trip by Daivari, who works the leg for a little bit, does a figure 4. Tony Nese distracts the referee so that he can pull him back, so that he can keep him in the figure 4 a little bit longer. There's a belly to belly for both guys by Thatcher as he comes back in. House of Fire off the hot tag. Achilles lock by Thatcher. Hangman by Nese. Chops for both by Ciampa, and Thatcher basically stands. This is such a cool thing. Like, it's like Ciampa and Thatcher are pissed off that these guys would dare get any offense in. So when Ciampa gets back in charge, Thatcher just stands there in the ring watching Ciampa, like, go, like, fucking do it. Hits a deep, spiking Widow's Bell for the win. If these guys had teamed up and lost in the first round after what they showed us in the fight pit a couple of days ago, that would have been an incredible waste. That would have been an incredible, incredible waste. So the Way winning tonight, the girls from the Way winning tonight was pretty predictable. Thatcher Ciampa was a given. I want to go back to the women's match for just a little bit, because I said the next round is going to be the Way taking on Moon and Shotzi, probably, but that's going to mean that they defeated Shafir and Stark. I still don't know what happened to Jessamine Duke, so anybody that knows about what happened to Jessamine Duke, throw it down in the box below. But also, Dolin, Jade, and Stark are the 3 brand new women that they've just added to the roster. If Moon and Shotzi go forward like I think they're going to, then you've said all 3 women we just introduced are losers. That's very difficult to bounce back from, I think. Now, where it gets even more interesting is in the next round, Ciampa and Thatcher are going on to face the Undisputed Era. And all the different spindling stories going on in the Undisputed Era, not least of which being that the 3rd member, Kyle O'Reilly, is about to go team up with Finn Balor to take on the current champions, who the winners of the Dusty Cup are also going to go on to face eventually. Ciampa and Thatcher are just going to get sucked into the Undisputed Era story and how many different ways that can go. I think that is going to become a match almost that's more determined by who gets involved in it than by the 4 guys in it, if that makes sense. Anyways, I'm rambling here because there wasn't much to talk about. There was just 2 matches. It does lead us into next week and the obvious progress going forward. These little insets, let me know what you guys think. If they're going to be throwing odds and sods and little like leftovers from NXT over onto 205 Live, how interested are you guys in me doing these little 10-15 minute update videos to lead us into the following week? I can do them if you like them. If you don't like them, then obviously I won't. I know coming up this week we've got Aaliyah and Jessie Camilla taking on Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. That could be interesting. You know me, Aaliyah is my hometown girl. She's got Robert Stone with her, so that's going to add a different dynamic to the cup as well. They are doing a bunch of cool things. I don't know how I feel about them pushing some of these matches onto 205 Live. I don't know how I feel about them debuting new NXT stars on 205 Live. I don't know how I feel about them debuting the monster team of Thatcher and Ciampa on 205 Live. But all it does to me, as a very, very biased NXT guy, is it just says NXT has way too much going on and way too much talent to fit on one show. And that can never really be a bad thing, can it? Anyways, hope you guys have liked this little extra. I'll talk to you later. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.